on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Making headlines here at First at 9. Reprieve. Train drivers call off strike following discussions with the Secretary to the President. Under the table. Chief dealer of perpetual treasuries admits bribing informants. Bank hack. Taiwan sends experts to investigate $1.1 million fund transfer. Finance Minister's maiden budget. Budget 2018 to focus on empowering the private sector. And making global headlines, fire damage. The death toll from California wildfires rises to at least 23. Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanayaka. We begin tonight with the latest developments on the strike launched by unions of railway services. Now, the strike launched by the train drivers and guards of railway services was called off this evening following discussions with Secretary to the President, Austin Fernando. The unannounced strike yesterday caught the public unaware and led to much commotion.
Train drivers and guards launched the strike from Colombo Fort railway station last night based on an issue pertaining to the recruitment of assistant train drivers. Railway trade unions say they resorted to strike action after discussions held yesterday with the Secretary to the Prime Minister proved unsuccessful. Passengers, however, were severely inconvenienced as the strike was not announced until 4:30 last evening. Police took measures to beef up security around the Peta and Maradana railway stations. Passengers attempted to enter the main control room requesting intervention to solve the issue.
මේ සේවකයෝ මෙච්චර පිරිසක් නඩත්තු කරන්නේ ජනතාව. ඒ කියන සදාචාරයවත් නැතුව ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙච්ච වෘත්තීය සමිතියට විරුද්ධව මහ ජනතාව විදියට අපි අපේ මානව අයිතිවාසිකම් උල්ලංඝනය වුණා කියලා අපි නඩු කටයුත්තකට යනවා.
Police also took measures to deploy SLTB and private buses to assist the inconvenienced passengers. In the meantime, none of the office trains that were scheduled for today operated this morning. The main railway control room said only 16 train journeys out of a scheduled 340 were completed since this morning. However, the Deputy Transport Director of Railways, V.S. Polvattage, said that a maximum number of journeys will be completed, deploying whoever who reports to work. The railway strike also left the bus service in high demand. Meanwhile, a discussion was held at the Ministry of Transport, chaired by Minister Nimal Siripalde de Silva. Following the discussion, the Association of Railway Locomotive Engineers had this to say.
If the Minister is not ready to solve this issue, the railway guards too informed us that they will join. They launched the strike asking for what we can't do. If they won't report for work, I will inform the President and take legal measures against them if necessary.
However, the railway trade unions decided to call off the strike following the discussions with the Secretary to the President.
He appointed a committee to hold discussions to give a decision within a month. The Secretary to the Ministry of Transport chairs the committee. Accordingly, we decided to call off the strike. It was a day of revelation at the Bond Commission, with the chief dealer of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Nuan Salgado, admitting that bribes were offered to certain individuals in exchange for confidential information. Salgado testified before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the controversial bond issuance today.
The Presidential Commission of Inquiry issued a notice yesterday summoning Private Secretary of Arjuna Aloysius, Steve Samuel, before the Commission to clarify as to who AM and RK were referred in the text messages directed to Arjuna Aloysius. However, lawyers appearing on behalf of Perpetual Treasuries informed the Commission that Steve Samuel will be unable to appear before the Commission for some time, as he is admitted to the ICU of a private hospital in Colombo, for which a medical report was also given to the Commission today. During the cross-examination of Arjuna Aloysius, a heated exchange took place between Senior Solicitor General Dappula de Oliveira and President's Counsel Romesh de Silva, when de Oliveira accused de Silva of leading the witness. De Oliveira went on to suggest that the President's Counsel switch seats with Arjuna Aloysius. Meanwhile, Chief Dealer of Perpetual Treasuries Nuan Salgado was called before the Commission today as well and was asked to explain an email which was presented before the Commission. Salgado said that the files contain details of payments made to informants from state and private banks via group companies of Perpetual Treasuries under code names Charlie, Car and Tango. Deputy Solicitor General Milinda Gunathilaka questioned Salgado to identify Charlie in the document. Salgado identified Charlie as an informant from the EPF who deals with Perpetual Treasuries Limited. It was also revealed that code names Little Johnny was used for Kavin Karunamurthy, who worked for a private bank, while Wolverine was identified as Naveen Anuradha from the National Savings Bank. Supreme Court Judge Prasanna Jayawardena said that according to the correspondence, 3 million rupees was paid to the officer of the EPF on the 10th of March 2015. Moreover, according to files maintained by Salgado, over 90 million rupees were given to an official from the EPF from July 2014 to December 2014 during the tenure of former Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral.
2 Taiwanese investigators and an official of the Far Eastern Bank of Taiwan arrived in Sri Lanka to lend their support in the investigation into alleged fraudulent transfer of $1.1 million to a Sri Lankan bank. Police media spokesperson said the team of investigators arrived in the country last night. Meanwhile, the members of the joint opposition and the chairman of the Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, also expressed their views on the matter. The Secretary-General of the United National Party and the party's chairman were summoned before the Commission of Inquiry yesterday. Before they left for the testimony, they went to the President crying and requesting that they should not be pressurized in the Commission. Nobody cross-examined them in the Commission yesterday. It was a different atmosphere in there yesterday. We request the President and the government to uphold the dignity of the Commission of Inquiry. Those who are not citizens of the country were appointed as the governor of the central bank and the chairman of the Litro Gas Lanka Limited. And on the other hand, a non-citizen has formed a political party, chaired the party, and then won one of the 2 presidential elections he contested in. We'd like to ask the chairman of the Election Commission as to whether a non-citizen can contest an election and whether it's valid to accept him into the system if he wins. We got to know that he wasn't a citizen the same way the public got to know it. He always assisted the activities of the Elections Commission. It doesn't say in our rules and constitution that one must be a citizen, but it's obviously a problem. The project director of the European Union in Sri Lanka, Mohammed Musain, says that the European Union spent €60 million for civilians in the north who were affected by the war. He made the remark addressing a gathering at a photography exhibition held in Vaunia in celebration of the European Union launching various programs over 5 years.
The sustainability of actions started under the EU STDP is paramount. The implementing agencies have given numerous support and established mechanisms to ensure the continuation of actions initiated. We know that the money comes from the generous contribution of the citizens of the European Union, and we all owe a debt of gratitude to them.
This is a one-of-a-kind coming together, which was done with only one purpose. And this purpose has been to develop the districts and thereby to empower the people living in these districts to recover from the effects of a 30-year conflict. The EU's support to district development, or the EU SDDP, as it is well known among yourselves, is the largest development initiative funded by the EU in Sri Lanka. It is implemented in 7 districts, including Vavuniya in the north and east, with the aim of poverty reduction, local economic development, and strengthening of local governance. I am confident that these benefits will continue to generate and continue to raise the living standards of the communities that this money went in to help.
Now, Speaker Karu Jayasuriya today signed 3 amended acts of Pradesha Sabha, urban councils and municipal councils relating to local government elections. Following the move, Chairman of the Elections Commission Mahinda Deshapriya said that local government elections can be held by January next year.
The Municipal Council Bill, Urban Council Bill and the Pradesha Sabha Bill that are necessary to hold the local government election was passed in the Parliament on Monday this week. Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faiza Mustafa and Secretary General of the Parliament Dhammika Dasanayaka were also present when Speaker Karu Jayasuriya signed the bill.
Sri Lanka දේශපාලනයේ ඓතිහාසික අවස්ථාවක්.
It is a historic day in the country's political arena. Voices were raised to change Sri Lanka's electoral system, preferential voting system, and to increase the female representation in Parliament. Parliament's responsibility on the matter is now over. We will make sure to hold the local government election in January and provincial council elections in March next year. I expect to present the related bill that allows to establish all of these to the Chairman of the Elections Commission tomorrow. We also hope to decide on the number of MPs from each local government institute.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Elections Commission Mahinda Deshapriya emphasized that the Commission will be able to hold the local government elections once the 3 acts are gazetted. It's become a rule now following the Speaker's signing of the document. The Parliament has now transferred the task to the Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government. The Elections Commission will be able to act once the Minister gazettes the acts. We know we don't have the ability to hold the elections in December. That is why we anyway have to go for January. Now, former Minister Basil Rajapaksa says that Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna will win over 200 seats in the local government elections. Speaking at a media briefing held today, the former minister said that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna will be contesting together with the joint opposition.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
This is the first election of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. 25% of those contesting will be the youth. Parties that will be contesting with the joint opposition are the Mahajana Eksat Peramuna, National Freedom Front, Lanka Samasamaja Party, Desha Vimukti Janata Party, Democratic Left Front and TMVP from the Eastern Province. We are contesting under the leadership of Mahinda Rajapaksa. As soon as TB Ekanaga said he was leaving the government, they started investigations. We do not conduct politics with grudges. The total Pradesha Sabhas that won during the 2015 presidential election and the parliamentary elections held in August later that year were 154 out of 335. We believe we can win another 60 seats, which will amount to over 200 seats. He will get on the political stage if a time comes and if an attempt is made to divide the country. Convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, Lahiru Irasekara, and the convener of the Inter-University Bhikkhu Federation, Venerable Tampitiya Sugatananda Thera, were arrested today and remanded until the 26th of this month. They were arrested for breaching court orders and causing public disturbance during the protest held on the 10th of this month.
The Fort Magistrates Court ordered Lahiru Weerasekara and Tampitiye Sugathananda Thera to appear before court this morning for a case related to a protest held in 2015. Fort and Kolpiti police stations submitted relevant facts to the Magistrates Court regarding the protest held on the 10th of this month. Accordingly, Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna ordered them to be remanded until the 26th of this month. Several trade unions and the Inter-University Students' Federation held a media briefing on the matter today.
We see
this arrest as a result of fake submissions of facts done by the police. We vehemently condemn arresting student leaders instead of solving this crisis. You cannot weaken this struggle by just arresting student leaders.
The inauguration ceremony of appointing the Public Commission on Sitem Conflict and Finding Solutions was worked off at the BMICH with the patronage of Professionals National Front.
Not only the patients, but we too have become helpless. Before appointing these commissions, we informed the President and the Prime Minister on the matter in every possible way. But they too say that they are helpless. When all of us are helpless, who will help us? So we request the Commission to find a solution.
Minister of Higher Education Lakshman Kiriyala today expressed his views regarding the Sitem issue.
Doctors attached to the GMOA are the ones who destroy the future of these students. It is a sin. They cannot wash their hands off it. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe returned to Sri Lanka today following his official visit to Finland. The Premier visited the Finnish capital where he held talks with high-ranking officials from the Finnish government and discussed several bilateral agreements to strengthen the ties between the two countries. At a meeting held at the residence of the Prime Minister of Finland in Helsinki, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe discussed the common commitment to strengthening ties between the two countries in the fields of energy, education and digitalization.
During our discussion, we identified a number of key areas where Finland could offer expertise and technology for Sri Lanka. These areas include digitalization and ICT, renewable energy, health technology and water management. In Finland, we are impressed by the national reconciliation process, economic reforms and restoring democratic governance in Sri Lanka.
We have covered many areas, firstly in economic activity and energy and also in regard to education. The introduction of an upper secondary vocational stream which will enable us to make a reality of 13 years of compulsory education, ensuring 50% of the students stay in school after O-level. I've also briefed the Prime Minister on Sri Lanka's status as hub of the Indian Ocean, but all this depends on political stability. Changes in the constitution, and I must thank the Finnish government for making available to us their experience in constitutional change which was done in the year 2000.
2 individuals were shot and killed this morning at the Siembalaweva Reserve of Tabboa Sanctuary in Puttlam. As per reports, an unidentified individual shot at a group of 4 individuals who were chopping firewood in the sanctuary and fled the scene. Police suspect a poacher may have shot the duo.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. Now, Minister of Finance Mangala Samaruvira says the 2018 budget is aimed at creating a robust, flourishing and modern economy for Sri Lanka. Minister Samaruvira also adds that his maiden budget, to be presented next month, will focus on a start-up culture of empowering the private sector. During talks with Director of South Asia of the World Bank's International Finance Corporation, Mengtsu Alameyu in Washington, Minister Samaruvira noted that the government has accorded high priority to private sector involvement in the economy by way of public-private partnerships. Following extensive deliberations, Alameyu stated that the IFC will support infrastructure development, ecotourism and affordable housing initiatives in Sri Lanka. Talks also touched on ways of enhancing mutual cooperation to promote private sector contribution for the island's economic development. Now, Sri Lankan shares rose about 1% today in heavy trade and posted their highest close in more than 10 weeks, with banks leading the gains. Turnover was 1.43 billion rupees, well above this year's daily average of 938.4 million rupees. Now let's cross over to Imeshi Fernando for a detailed report.
The benchmark all-share price index gained 61.65 points to close at 6,621.56, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained 47.22 points to close at 3,917.64. The turnover was 1.43 billion rupees, with 37.6 million shares changing hands in 8,401 trades.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. Now it's time to have a look at news from around the world. US authorities say massive wildfires sweeping through California have killed at least 23 people and damaged thousands of homes, businesses and other buildings. At least 285 people are still missing in a blaze that affected almost the entire community.
Firefighters were battling 22 wildfires in multiple California counties yesterday. According to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, the flames intensified by strong winds have charred about 170,000 acres of land, damaged or destroyed at least 3,500 structures and forced nearly 20,000 residents to evacuate. At least 8,000 firefighters and support personnel and 124 aircraft are battling the fires.
The United States announced their decision to withdraw from UNESCO earlier this week. As per international media, the decision was made in protest to organization's alleged anti-Israel bias. An official declaration of the decision is due to be made next week, while the United States will remain as an observer state of the organization.
UNESCO is a Paris-based cultural, scientific and educational organization affiliated with the United Nations. According to reports, the decision on United States withdrawal was taken by Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, who was urged to remain in the organization until the vote of its new Director General. Meanwhile, several protesters gathered outside UNESCO in Paris last evening, declaring objection against Qatar's candidacy in the UNESCO vote. As per international media, the protests were staged over allegations of UNESCO's support of regional foe, Iran and Islamists.
Now let's take a look at some other stories making news across the world.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered the country's police to end all operations in his deadly war on drugs after a 15-month campaign in which officers have killed thousands. Police say they have killed over 3,850 people in anti-drug operations since the Philippines took office last year. The country's drugs enforcement agency will now take charge of operations. Vietnamese authorities say 37 people have died from floods and landslides caused by heavy rain. Another 40 are missing and thousands have been evacuated from their homes as a tropical depression sweeps across Vietnam. The Vietnam Disaster Management Authority said that the disaster destroyed more than 1,000 houses, submerged another 16,740 homes and damaged infrastructure and crops in central and northern provinces. Pakistan's military says they have freed a North American family of 5 who were being held hostage by the Afghan Taliban. They were rescued during an operation in Kuram tribal district near the Afghan border.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Derana 24/7.
Time for some sports. Now, the Queen's Baton of Commonwealth Games 2018 reached Sri Lanka today as it tours the globe ahead of next year's Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, Australia. The Queen's Baton is expected to remain in Sri Lanka for 3 days before moving to Malaysia.
The baton, which carries a message from the head of the Commonwealth, currently Queen Elizabeth II, is similar to the Olympic torch relay. The baton has already reached 53 countries before reaching Sri Lanka.
The Queen's baton is the symbol of the Commonwealth Games, and this design is very unique. It represents the people, the place and the spirit of the Gold Coast city. This Queen's baton relay is the longest and most accessible in history. It's travelling through the entire Commonwealth for 388 days, and as it does so, it's bringing people, athletes, young and old, women and children together, celebrating sport, community and the sharing of culture. We will be in Sri Lanka for 3 days, sharing the Queen's baton with as many people as possible, getting everybody excited for those Commonwealth Games in Australia next year.
The 33rd All-Ireland School Games commenced at the Diagama Mahinda Rajapaksa Stadium yesterday. First day of the 5-day athletics championship was hindered by heavy rain, resulting in the postponement of many scheduled events, with only a few events being worked off.
Under 18 girls triple jump was the first senior final event that was worked off yesterday. Satsara Sandeepani of President College Ambalipitiya came first with a jump of 12.01 metre and was the only athlete to breach the 12-metre mark. SP Karunanayaka of Dippitiya Rajagiri Mahavidyalaya was second with a distance of 11.81 metres. Pehasara Tenuja of Vijita Madhya Mahavidyalaya Dikwala won the under 12 boys high jump with a height of 1.41 metres. Nipuna Manodaya of Malayadeva College and Prasad Vijayasiri of Ranasingha Mahavidyalaya Ganeguda coming in the second and third respectively with a height of 1.3 metres.
Moving on to tennis, world champions Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer both registered straightforward victories to advance in the Shanghai Masters yesterday.
World number 1 Rafael Nadal made short work of American Jared Donaldson at the Shanghai Masters, beating him in less than an hour. Nadal dispatched Donaldson 6-2, 6-1 and set up a second-round encounter with Italy's Fabio Fognini. Meanwhile, world number 2 Roger Federer overcame a tough resistance from Argentina's Diego Schwartzman in the second round. Federer beat Schwartzman 7-6, 6-4 and will face Alexander Dolgopolov in the next round.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
And let's cross over to Sherla Fernando at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Your temperatures for tomorrow are to vary between 21 and 32 degrees Celsius, with prevailing showery and cloudy conditions expected to continue during the next few days. Showers or thundershowers will occur over most parts of the island, with fairly heavy falls forecasted at some places, particularly in the western, Sabaragamua, northwestern and northern provinces, along with Anuradhapura, Galle and Matara districts. That's it from tonight's Weather Centre. Up next is your city-by-city forecast.
And that's it from First and Night tonight. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow. And before we go, we'd like to leave you with some visuals brilliantly captured from an aerial drone covering the breathtaking beauty of Sri Lanka's beautiful coasts, picturesque hills and cultural heritage sites. Thanks for watching.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.